and all of these were women, too. From the physician who assessed the condition of the patients to the surgeon who inspected their wounds, from the radiologist who ordered X-rays to the pathologist who took swabs, from the dentist who checked their teeth to the ophthalmologist who tested their sight, every one of the doctors was female. Other than the burly policeman at the entrance and a handful of male orderlies who were too old or too infirm for combat, the Endell Street Military Hospital was staffed entirely by women. For some of the men who arrived at Endell Street on one of those dark nights, the stink of the trenches still clinging to their uniforms, to enter this female world after living in the hell wrought by men was a glorious relief. But for others, it was a threatening, shocking, even distressing experience. Women nurses were one thing. Many of the men had already had their wounds dressed by female nurses in field hospitals and on ambulance trains. Women doctors were something else entirely. None of them had ever been treated by a female doctor in civilian life. The idea of women providing medical care to men was simply unknown, and they knew full well that women doctors were not ordinarily employed in the army. Some of the men had wounds in intimate places. Others had contracted venereal diseases after sexual encounters with women in France. A few were convinced they had been sent to Endell Street to die, that they were hopeless cases. For why else would the army dispatch them to a hospital run solely by women, and not just any women, but suffragettes, former enemies of the state? Yet as the women doctors listened sympathetically to the men's fears, and as trained nurses gently tended their bodies, and friendly orderlies comforted their spirits, the men began to change their minds. Before long, they all agreed that Endell Street Military Hospital was, in fact, the best hospital in London. 1. A Good Feeling. Victoria Station, London, September 15, 1914. Louisa Garrett Anderson and Flora Murray waited to board their train. Tall, slim, and erect in the midst of the 14 younger women who were going with them, they exuded calm authority. Everyone had come to see them off, family, friends, and comrades from the suffragette movement, and to ply them with gifts. One well-wisher had arrived with 3 boxes packed with provisions for the journey, while others had brought fruit, chocolates, or flowers. Surrounded by the luggage they would take onto the train, the women looked awkward in their stiff new uniforms. Their short skirts, grayish-brown, just covered the tops of their ankle boots, and their matching belted tunics were buttoned firmly up to their necks. Their main luggage had already been stowed and would be waiting for them upon arrival, or so they thought. Victoria Station was bustling. In the 6 weeks since war had been declared, the railway terminus had been transformed. Along with commuters pouring off the trains for their daily drudgery, there were now Belgian refugees who had fled the invading German army, carrying pitiful bundles of belongings, their frightened children in tow. Traumatized and bewildered, they were met by women volunteers who had set up emergency canteens on the concourse. There were other British travelers, too, people who had found themselves stranded in Europe and farther afield when war broke out and who were only now straggling home. Departures were relatively few. Thousands of soldiers had already passed through Victoria on their way to France and Flanders. Weighed down by kit bags and buoyed up by patriotic songs, they had exchanged farewells with their families and sweethearts before boarding their trains. One traveler, aware that many who said their goodbyes would never see each other again, called Victoria the Palace of Tears. More would follow in the ensuing weeks and months. While the soldiers of the British Expeditionary Force, made up of the regular army and reservists, were already mired in the thick of battle on the Western Front, hundreds of thousands more men had since enlisted in response to the call to arms declared by the new Secretary of State for War, Lord Kitchener. So far, at least, the casualties which had begun to stream back from the first battles had arrived at London stations under cover of night.